And live tonight from the Chicagoland Speedway, LSRTV with you to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round number 13 of the 2018 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto L.L.C. We're tonight from the Windy City. We're happy to have you with us on your home for sim racing at iRacing Live for tonight's Chicagoland 125. As always, happy to be with you at the LSR TV booth. Myself, Evan Pizzoco, joined tonight by David Shieldhouse and Trevor Valderrama. Downstairs, as always, the lovely and talented Cisco Scaravusa, twisted and tweaked at aisles to bring us to you this evening. And David, we come from an off week and get set for 4 straight weeks of action, starting Daytona next week, Kentucky, New Hampshire, as we work into the middle portion of 2018. But tonight, it is the 1.5-mile Chicagoland Speedway for round 13 on the season and the third race of segment number 2.
You know, and an off week is a great time to catch up as a driver, sort of collect your thoughts, reassess everything as you see them before you. A couple weeks into the books here of season number 2. And really just apply what you've learned and thought about in that off week here tonight at Chicago. If you were looking for a time to build some momentum or correct some wrongs as you've gone through the season up to this point, this is a great time to do it.
And we talk about that Segment 2 championship, Trevor, coming into tonight. Obviously, as we work to the end of this segment, we're going to get close to the end of the regular season, which accompanies, or I guess encompasses, those opening 20 weeks of the year. And of course, 2 sets of 10 race seasons make up segment 1, which is already complete, in segment number 2. So we'll look at the overall points, who wants to get into the playoffs and all of that as we go on. But as it was in the first 10 races, it will be in this second set of 10. A segment championship is on the line, which is a big thing to look at. And after 2 weeks, Brandon Bowie, so far so good. His win as of a couple of weeks ago, first race of this segment back at Michigan, his second of the year. He leads 72 points on top of Freenars, Comstock, Callisto, and Michael Garilio with a win last time out, jumps him up and into the top 5 in the standings. And in our overall points, it is still Brandon Bowie leading the way, 21 points on top of Garillia, Preet, Silver, Freenars through the top 5. So not at all surprised that the drivers that had success in segment 1 off to a good start here in segment number 2 have been very good in the last 2 weeks, and that's why they're up there in both the segment 2 points and of course our overall standings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Bowie won the segment 1 championship for the race season, so he has a lot of momentum coming into that second round, and he won the Michigan 100 and still on the top of the point standing, so really having a lot of momentum coming into the following weeks of this Chicagoland and Daytona, Kentucky, next 3 races on the schedule. So look for him to be powerful and very trying to be a hard charger as we see him on top of the pylon as well.
And we'll get to the specifics about this Chicagoland Speedway in just a little bit, and of course we'll have more time to kind of learn its unique characteristics, see it firsthand as this race goes on. But David, a lot of the time those 1.5-mile racetracks can kind of get clumped into the conversation together, and certainly to an extent that's fair. We'll talk about Kentucky later on, but those are really only the conventional 1.5-milers that we have in this 10-race segment number 2 in the middle portion of this 2018 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series campaign, as always powered by English Auto LLC. But I love Chicagoland Speedway. I think it brings fantastic racing, that backstretch, which kind of has that progressive bank all the way from the exit at turn 2 to the entrance at turn 3. The apron's in play on the front straightaway, and as we race for 125 laps tonight, not a very long race, but it is not a sprint either. I think that we should be in for a treat this evening.
Yeah, Chicagoland, long known as a driver's track. You really got to hustle a race car to make it work around here. Turns 1 and 2, different bank, different radius than turns 3 and 4. The 2 ends of the speedway couldn't be further apart when it comes to how they're set up, and that really makes for some driving styles that suits those who are adaptable. And the guys that can adapt to the situation they have at hand here tonight, those are the guys that are going to be up front. So I'm looking forward to seeing those that maybe didn't put down the best qualifying lap, but can race really well and leverage their skill through this 125 laps to come from the back up to the front.
And of course, the opening run of this race could be probably one of the most exciting parts. This is a racetrack that could lend itself to a lot of green flag action. Let's see how it gets kicked off as cars are down trackside. Let's join them. This is a look at your LSRTV starting grid. Pole position in this one goes to the aforementioned Brandon Bowie, championship leader. Put down a 33.67. It is good enough for pole tonight from Chicago, besting Spencer Preet's time by 3/100ths of a second. The 37 Preet will roll off to the outside of the front row in P2. Back on row number 2, David Comstock at a start tonight in third position. Daniel Eberhardt to his right-hand side in fourth, and Shane Ewing right now rounds out your top 5.
Nick Silver is going to roll off from the 6th position. Sean Casto will take that 7th starting spot. Daniel Falkenheim, rolling off from the 8th starting spot. Michael Cozy going to start from 9th, and Michael Guerrilla is going to get that top 10 starting position.
Dwayne Vincent will take the P11 starting position. Troy Haydett will take P12. Gabe Wood, P13. Austin Coop, P14. And Andrew Jones, P15.
Final time to take a time, or the final driver, I guess I should say, to take a time at a qualifying session. That's Tom Morano, who will roll from 16th position. His time, 6/10 off of the best time we saw from Bowie up at the front of the field. Andrew Freitas will start provisional number 1, 17th spot. He and Dylan Jones in 18th, going to make up row 9. Back on row 10, Lionel Callisto 19th. That'll be Scott McClendon in 21st. And then it actually looks like it'll actually be Chambliss in 20th, and then Scott McClendon in 21st position. I don't know if McClendon is going to make it, though, onto the racetrack. That driver did not put down a time in the qualifying nor the warm-up session and doesn't appear to be on track as the field rolls. So 10 rows all the way to the back of the pack. Let's talk more specifically about what makes the Chicagoland Speedway what it is. As we noted, it's a 1.5-mile oval, no surprise there, but the 18 degrees in the corner leaves plenty of variance for the drivers to be able to play around, pick and choose which line they want. The front straightaway's got 11 degrees of banking, not necessarily a tri-oval per se, kind of more so falls into that D-shaped oval size that you would see if you look down on a Michigan or a Fontana, some of the bigger 2-mile tracks. And then, of course, it's not going to show up on anything besides a bird's eye view, and that's, of course, that curve on the back stretch. I'm sure we'll call it a straight at some point, but there is definitely a nice little left-hand bank, which makes the jockeying for position as they head off down into turn number 3 very fun as this night goes on. Doubled up, getting set to go green flag racing, this time by the iRacing.com official pace car. It's going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the safety of the pit lane, and the field is going to be in the hands of championship leader Brandon Bowie, who looks to continue to defend and charge towards a Segment 2 title. As always, happy you're spending a Monday with us on LSRTV in iRacing Live. Pace car down, American Ethanol, green flag in the air. We're off and away from Chicago. Race 13 on the year, first time to turn 1.
Side by side through turns 1 and 2. Now Bowie will squirt out to the lead, clear himself off of turn number 2. Up there in front of that battle now, side by side for second down. The isn't back straight, you could say. I like that term, the isn't straight, but Bowie powers through 3 and 4, looking good on lap number 1.
Bowie looks like he'll be able to lead at the completion of lap 1. Preach so he's going to stay there right there in the number 2 position. And we didn't see that nodding of Daniel Eberhardt. Wind up top, goes 4th to 3rd. A couple of other positions swapped out. Same thing happened back on row 3. Nick Silver beat out Shane Ewing with a run on the outside of the racetrack, and he was able to get P5 from him. But that's where we'll find all of the side-by-side. Your top 4 are single file down the not back straightaway, and the 32 to 24 right now side by side for P5. Advantage now swings down low. Shane Ewing looks like he'll snatch that spot right back.
Yeah, that low line at the moment is working really well, but once they start working that high side in, it's going to really come into factor later on this race. As you see, the number 17 of Michael Guerrilla trying to defend his position against Nick Silver, and Daniel Falkingham trying to hunt that down, as well as this number 77 and 13, Cozy Jr. and Vincent battling down the not-so-back straightaway, as well as the number 17 and 32 trying to battle into the 4th corner, trying to use 2 different lines as well, gets ever so close, but across the start-finish line for lap number 4.
Lap number 4 gets into the works. Drivers trying to maybe catch their breaths a little bit, but Michael Guerrilla in that 17 Chevrolet has been a man on a mission. Started P10, put him right about mid-pack with a smaller car count and the more moderate field size that we're expecting through this second segment of the year. And of course, getting 5 positions right out of the gate, always good news. He's just now getting all the way by Shane Ewing. They were still technically side by side across the line, so that now goes to sole possession of the Guerrilla camp, so he'll single file out P5. Shane Ewing now under attack once more. It is Nick Silver in the 24. Down on the bottom of the racetrack, we're seeing drivers get awfully close with that white line, but pretty even with that 32 of Ewing, who took basically the middle of the road.
Good side-by-side battle here on your screen. It's going to be Ewing up top, Nick Silver down below. Silver appears to get a great run into the corner, but the momentum from the top side is going to allow the 32 to get the run down the front stretch. Shane Ewing looking strong as the side-by-side battle continues to rage on, and they got a stack of cars now 3 wide behind him through 1 and 2. Got to be real careful down there on the inside lane. They make it work. Boy, that was a tense little moment.
A little bit of a close call there as they came up and off of the corner there, and everybody tightly packed in with that number 17 machine. I should say the 67 is the car I'm looking at. That is Sean Casto in the middle of all of that. They have single filed out now, and it is still now the 24 and the 32 doing a battle. No change as of the last time around. It's Silver by a couple of inches down low. And look at the 32 now, Trevin. Not as much running in that middle of the racetrack, but almost all the way out. Not quite Kansas high, but pretty high. And the 24 is Silver. Good enough run off of the corner to be able to clear for that position. Meanwhile, up front, Brandon Bowie's got a lot going on in his rear view mirror. Spencer Preet under attack as Eberhard and Comstock both close down for second.
And Brandon Bowie is loving seeing all this action in his rearview mirror, because this is just going to allow him to, pull away more and more as this progresses, as you still see the number 90 and 37 of Preet battling it out with number 42 of David Comstock right behind him, lurking, just waiting for that perfect opportunity to go by. We'll see how long it takes for that Kyle Larson line take into effect, as you see now basically 3 wide going into the corner, coming out of the corner. Now we'll see who gets it, and it's still going to be Spencer Preet over Daniel Eberhardt, and David Comstock starting to lose a little bit of ground on them. He's going to have to keep it up and stay with him, but now Spencer Preet won't have to worry about battling as much, but keep his focus on Brandon Bowie, that ever so strong driver. In P number 1, the number 90 of Daniel Eberhardt slightly gets in the wall. David Comstock going to have to do an evasive maneuver to avoid him.
Yeah, Eberhard actually had a pretty good run there on Spencer Preet, but just a little bit too friendly with the outside retaining wall. Just grazed that safer barrier. Wasn't much of a hit as much as it was just a little bit of a rub on the wall, but it was enough to slow him down as David Comstock cleared for that position. And now Preet does get that little bit of breathing room. Good news for him and all of that is he really didn't let Bowie get all that much further in front of him. Anytime you get a couple of cars who kind of pounce on you all at once, save the position, that's the ultimate goal, but very easy to let panic set in. Did not do so, so he's only about 0.4 of a second off of Bowie right now. Curious to see what Comstock's going to be able to do now that Eberhard is behind him. Remember the way that this race started, Comstock lost that position to Eberhard right out of the gate. 90 machine better up on the outside of the racetrack. Looks like that might be the better lane to be on restarts. We'll keep an eye on that as the night goes on. And the Comstock back in his position. Let's see what he's got.
Fan favorite David Comstock in that number 42. He's got a lot of people cheering him on here tonight. JD Army in full effect, watching as he pulls that car around the bottom side, stuck to that white line, while he looks ahead and sees Spencer Preet just continuing to run sort of middle up the racetrack, especially in 3 and 4, seemingly working out just fine for both of them. Looking at the lap times compared to the leader, Preet a little bit faster by almost a 0.5 of a lap there as Bowie stuck to the bottom, but the 37 up into the wall, a little too high, stepped over the edge and caught a little bit of the outside wall. That's going to slow him down just a little bit and allow the 42 now to slide in there on the bottom lane. Here we go. We got a fight brewing for second place.
And the way that these drivers are getting up and into the outside wall is quite unique. The way you would expect or tend to see it is somebody's way down low, they roll into the gas a little bit too soon, and they kind of come to grips with that outside wall pretty quickly. And again, they hit the wall, they slap the wall, but when the drivers are up here on the outside of the racetrack, they're so close to, look at 42 even to Comstock. That back end sticks out a little bit, and even if you're just getting over the right rear quarter panel, these drivers are right on that limit. Bowie wants nothing to do with the risk that those drivers are taking, and he'll stay down on the inside. Even David Comstock swinging low to get up onto the back bumper as that battle continues right now for second position. Middle of the pack there, look at the 13. Dwayne Vincent 3 wide and through the middle in P10. As we keep our eyes up front, the guys middle of the pack having some fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael Cozy Jr. really got the worst of that ordeal going on in turn number 1. He lost quite a few positions. I believe I counted 4, now 5, and about to be 6 coming out of turn number 4. He is side by side with the number 88 of Andrew Freenars coming to the start-finish line, but still, you know, he's got to regroup. Now he's moved all the way down to 14th position, now 15th. And, you know, he just got to regroup and be able to find a different way around, as now you see the number 67 of Sean Casto really taking that better end of that deal as he's moved himself up into 8th position. But we've single filed out here for a second, but that will not be for long. Looking up towards the front, the number 90 and the 42 of David Comstock and Daniel Eberhardt are fighting out for 3rd place. David Comstock still going to hold on to that 3rd place for now, but we'll see how long it takes for these drivers to start moving around and start building those lines in. And you got to think about tire wear as well. Starting to see a lot of the lap times fall off from what they were. We started with about 30-second lap times, and now we're about 32-second lap times. So if that's telling you anything about the tires, they're starting to wear.
Hey, Brandon Bowie, race leader's fastest lap was a 36.12. He put down a 32.301 the last time by, and he's still arguably one of, if not the fastest car on the racetrack. Really is spirited charge to the front, has since stalled out. He's got up to P5 awfully quickly and has stayed in P5. Obviously, look at the names up there. Eberhardt, Comstock have been heavy hitters in this Real Racing Full Throttle Cup Series for quite some time, and Spencer Preet really now coming into his element, and he is running a fantastic race here after not cracking the top 10 in either of the first 2 races to start this second segment in 2018. He looks very sporty right now, P2.
Yeah, great run and really establishing himself as a legitimate contender here tonight. Bowie isn't getting away from these guys. Let's not make any mistake there. We're not showing him a whole lot because the racing behind him is so good. But Preet is really putting down competitive lap times. He's got a lot of pressure behind him in the form of Eberhardt, Comstock, and Guerrilla. I think really still feeling a little bit of that momentum from his win at Sonoma a few weeks ago. But as they go by the slower car there on the apron, Brandon Bowie is still putting down good lap times. But this fight for second continues to rage on. Eberhardt not content just to ride behind that 37 car.
He stays within, I think, striking distance, 1 or 2 car lengths off, and well, we saw how easy it was the first time we saw the exchange between Comstock and Eberhardt go down, how easy it is for somebody to lose a spot now that the 90 machine's gotten back into 3rd. He's looking to maybe find a mistake out of the 37 or just muscle on by. Here he goes to the inside of the racetrack. So side by side we go. And how about that? Basically a picture-perfect pass for the 90 machine. Daniel Eberhardt just dropped down to the inside. Preet stayed about 3/4 of the racetrack up. And for the first time tonight now, Eberhardt moves to P2.
Yeah, it's really going to be who can save their tires the most, I feel like, because we're starting to see a lot of cars start to come alive come lap 20, and some cars start to die down a little bit. And you see Daniel Eberhardt starting to pull a little bit of a gap, but we'll see what the number 37 of Spencer Preet can do coming out of turn 4 as he's running that middle high line that get himself a little bit of a run coming out of the turn, but still a pretty decent gap between Eberhardt and Preet, and not really having to worry about anything else from him as he's going to have to set his sights on Brandon Bowie. But here comes Spencer Preet, them running that same line. It's really starting to help Spencer Preet really realize what he's doing and where he can catch him going into each corner and down the back, not so back straight away.
And there's a couple of other side-by-side battles here and there. There's a fight right now between Lino Callisto and Andrew Farinars for 12th on track. And Callisto in the 97 just now losing out on his challenge to defend. Looks like Farinars was able to get back in front of him, although a big bobble that time at a 4. And they'll stay side by side. So, well, yes, there's plenty going on up front. And when you get through, I think, those opening 20 laps, David, it's a big step in the right direction as far as kind of getting out of that opening part of a run where you can have wrecks and such, and you're kind of in a position now with these drivers, if they can get some space, which admittedly has been difficult for some of them, but if you can get some space, kind of get into a rhythm and just try to run this stage out, there's so many fights going on track still.
Yeah, a lot of good racing all over this 1.5-mile D-shaped oval. And, as you said, Evan, you get 20 laps on the board. Guys sort of get into their rhythm, get a groove. They make the passes that they really wanted to make. And the speed sort of settles itself amongst the field as Eberhardt's sort of matching lap times with Bowie right now. Bowie having the benefit of the clean air on the front of the car, and Eberhardt running that higher lane to sort of give himself the same advantage. Maybe, they trade lap times here and there, but guys feel pretty well set in this run, and possibly that a caution isn't going to derail us, so they got to start thinking ahead for green flag pit stop maybe if it comes to that. But, truly it's good to get laps in as we're 24 on the board out of 125, so things moving along at a pretty good clip, and good clean racing so far.
And that's the key, is we've seen plenty of close racing, but at the end of the day, keep it clean thus far. Shane Ewing in the 32 machine in front of a little bit of a mid-pack scrap. That's the one that involved the 3-wide, move that we saw to the 13 of Dwayne Vincent not all that long ago. He's now fighting with the double of Gabe Wood. Wood cleared him that last time around, and that'll move Gabe Wood up into P10. 13 tries to get back on him, and then even closer to the front of the field, number 42, Michigan David Comstock in a battle right now, closer to the front, and you see a battle right now, not for position, the 37, Spencer Preet, way up the racetrack. That's Troy Haight, lapped car, who's coming around. He just exited pit lane about 2-3 laps ago, so that's a good kind of visual representation, Trevin, on what a car with fresh tires looks like compared to the drivers who have really only been out there for a 20-25 lap period thus far, how easily he works in and around the battling up front. Good news is, first time tonight we've seen some real separation up front, so the 78 not really disturbing much as he tiptoes through.
Yeah, absolutely not really disturbing much at all, and able to get around these cars very easily. Beneficial to all the lead lap cars, but obviously, as you're pointing out, the differential between how these lap times are running with this lap car with newer tires, it could play factor into later on in the race, strategy wise, thinking about what the drivers can do later on, and how they're going to be able to prepare themselves for maybe a late race caution. Are they going to take 2 or 4 tires going into the last one? It could all just depend on how their track position is and how willing they are to roll the dice. But meanwhile, we have Daniel Eberhardt trying to close the gap on Brandon Bowie. The number 78 kind of stalled Brandon Bowie up a little bit, but the number 90 is loose, as we're starting to see a lot of cars dealing with a lot of loose race cars here on the track going into lap number 28. You can really start to see the tire wear coming off on these cars right now. That loose car was able to get caught by Spencer Preet, who's dealing with an equally as loose race car, so it's really who can handle their car the best over these long runs.
And Eberhardt's did a good job at the last few laps of limiting mistakes. It's still very noticeable that he and Brandon Bowie, who run second and then first respectively, with the 43 still having led all the now 28 completed laps thus far in tonight's Chicagoland 125. Bowie's still way down on the inside of the racetrack, and Eberhardt's still running up on the outside. There's obviously inherently more risks when you run closer to the outside wall. I think the key for the Donnie is not making those mistakes in the first place. He's taken advantage of mistakes by Preet and Comstock on a couple of occasions to get back into P2 to where he runs right now. So I think stick to the game plan with just under 100 to go.
It's a story as old as racing itself. Don't beat yourself on the track, especially if you're Daniel Eberhardt, running very comfortably in second position. Closing that gap once again, he shrunk it down to about 0.4 of a second, down from about 0.6 of a second a few laps ago. So really no need to really press the issue as we see Brandon Bowie now move up and take away that higher lane. Sign of a very smart race car driver, Brandon Bowie. That's why he wins and runs up front. Trying to take the line away from the 90. That's a guy that's watching his mirror as much as he's looking out the front windshield.
It's definitely what you have to do up front, is keep an eye on things. In the 42 to 17 right now, fighting for fourth, and it was a very quick battle as Guerrilla as mentioned, in that fight, went to the inside of the racetrack, that bore into a Comstock. Looked like he got loosened up by actually getting down and onto that apron. It's an immediate transition for the 18 degrees of banking down to the flat. The 11 Dylan Jones followed him through, but a better exit off of the corner, and now down the back straight is the 42 machine of Comstock trying to fight back, almost looking for a crossover there. Early lift into the corner, and then tried to undercut the 11. You can see the bobble, but Jones is going to keep his right foot down and allow him to maintain that position, P5.
You have to be careful when you're going on the apron because, as you said, it's an immediate transition, and those tires won't really like you doing that as much as anything else. So you have to be careful not to flirt with it too much and make sure you keep those tires under control and able to keep them under you as you fight for position. As you mentioned, Michael Guerrilla, he's coming off a win last weekend from Sonoma, obviously a different race configuration as this is a oval rather than a road course. So, you know, he's got a little bit of a different strategy going on, but he is coming with a lot of head of steam as the number 11 of Dylan Jones is going to get around him coming into turn number 1. We'll see if he can go a little bit harder on the exit of turn 2. No, he will not. Dylan Jones will clear him for position number 5.
And a caution flag is out. There's smoke on the back straightaway. It's Daniel Eberhardt from second on track. First caution of the afternoon comes at lap number 33. And it is Daniel Eberhardt. We'll take a second look at this one on the LSRTV replay, David, but just spending so much time talking about not making mistakes. He had gotten within a couple of car lengths of Bowie, I think was feeling a little bit brave, and didn't get up into the outside wall. That car just slowly lost the back end, and it went around on the back straightaway. He almost goes back up and into the outside wall. Smart decision to then snap that car back down to the left. Probably should have just locked it up the first time. He had a couple of dangerous spins up in front of oncoming traffic, but Eberhardt could keep that car out of the wall, but a tough break for your at-times second-place runner.
Yeah, we're going to need a new pair of pants for the driver of the number 90 machine as he wheels that thing down the back straightaway. That's one of the laziest slides I've seen in a long time. Lucky not to hit anything. It looks like to me as he came off of turn 2, he hit that transition and had so much wheel cranked into it to try and run that higher lane. As soon as the banking fell away, he was turning hard left, trying to hold on to it. The rear tires losing grip doesn't help either. And boy, I tell you, if he comes back to get a good finish out of this thing, he can look at that moment of not hitting the outside wall as his saving grace.
The race leader is going to be headed down to the pit lane, and unfortunately, Eberhardt is going to be pretty much at the back of that line. Brandon Bowie, though, first driver in. He's got the longest trip down to the pit lane to pit stall number 1. Now, no doubt, the call is going to be 4 tires and fuel throughout the field. The key here is getting clean in and out of the box. Watch for a race off the pit road. Spencer Preet, the 37, thought he might have been able to do something. Not going to happen. Race for second. Almost snatched away by Dylan Jones, but no changes inside of the top 8. Everybody top 8 in and out in the same order. First change, Dwayne Vincent falls 9th to 10th. Jake Gabe Wood bumps up from 10th to 9th, so rather uneventful trip down to the pit lane that time. Everybody on their A game that time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you just said, you got to watch out for mistakes caused on pit road. You can't mess up your whole entire race going down pit road. You just got to make sure that you're clean in, clean out. Everybody was able to do that perfectly. So now we've got basically the same lineup that we came in with. So everybody with 4 fresh Goodyears and a race car full of Sunoco fuel. So they're just going to get ready to and tackle the next couple laps that they have on their tires. And the 17 is going to get a EOL penalty for driving through too many pit stalls. So, you just got to make sure that you do not do anything to affect your race strategy, as now he's just got to move to the end of the longest line next to Daniel Eberhardt. As David pointed out, he could come back from this. He didn't hit the wall, so that's a good thing. He was able to wheel it and keep it off the wall, so just watch for him to try and make a comeback. We know he's fast. We know he can get to that second position. It's just a matter of taking care of that car.
That was 3 pit stalls at which he drove through on the entrance to his pit stop. That is where the penalty for Michael Guerrilla does come from. 3 in, 3 out. Long-standing rule in the Full Throttle Wheelstone Racing Cup Series. Also at end of the longest line penalty going to be assessed to Daniel Eberhardt. No surprise in that one. He gets that penalty as being the cause of the caution. As we work under this first yellow flag of the evening, I want to remind you that coverage of the Full Throttle Racing Cup Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim from behind the wheel, on the pit box, or atop the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself a basic download for free or get the full pro version. All that information and more by logging on to joel-real-timing.com for more information. Wave around, going to go on by Andrew T. Jones rejoins the lead lap from 19th position. David, we double up for a restart with 37 laps down, and we get set for another 20-25 lap stint of a lot of excitement up front if it's anything like we saw the first time.
Yeah, I could go for another round of what we've already been exposed to here within this first segment. And, you know, as a driver, when you get a nice long stint to start a race and then you get a caution, allows you to sort of catch back up. Again, I like to see what these guys are thinking. I wish I had that information, because they got to, you know, put together a plan of how they're going to unseat Brandon Bowie from the lead. Nobody's led a lap except for him yet tonight, so this is a great opportunity, especially on a restart. We've seen guys like Michael Guerrilla make up 5 positions in just a couple of laps, so why can't somebody else do it? And the guy that I got my eye on is outside of row number 1. That's going to be the number 37. That's Spencer Preet. What kind of start can he get here, Evan? Come to this green flag restart. If he can get the lead away, he may be able to pull away.
Even on a couple of our big movers, Dylan Jones, Gabe Wood, some of the names instead of the top 10. This restart in control of the 43. Green flag in the air and a big tire spin for Spencer Preet. Really lost it, as I think that 43 caught him off guard. He tried to put the right foot down fast. Did not work. So Bowie gets a good jump. The 11 of Jones at the inside. Side by side for P2. Looks like the 37's got his feet back underneath him, though, as he flies to turn 3.
Number 37 is Spencer Preet. Did a great job recovering that loose race car coming to the start. You know, he did a great job as well as not stacking up behind him, but the 11 of Dylan Jones is going to be able to take that advantage away from Spencer Preet, as he's going to stay on the tarmac while the number 11 goes in the apron. Going into turn number 1, as the number 32 Shane Ewing will pass David Comstock for position. The number 67 is Sean Casto, trying to pass him as well. We'll see how it works out. The double O, meanwhile, of Gabe Wood kind of got the wall a little bit, so we'll see how his car handles with that. I believe that was coming out of turn number 4. Yes, it was. Number 97 right under him, nearly got a little bit in the right front, but all for now. He's able to run clearly, Evan.
And Kalisto's lucky he didn't turn him, but that was a good piece of contact for Gabe Wood. He's dropped about 2-3 positions since then. Out front, though, Brandon Bowie leads. Dylan Jones by 0.4 of a second. Spencer Preet has fallen to 3rd. The 24's right there, and another close call. It was Preet this time, right up against the outside retaining wall. Saw that little bit of a slide as he got right to the apex of the corner there, and he had to hold his breath, I'm sure. Silver there, Ewing there as well. See if Shane Ewing can kind of turn up the notch. He was relatively quiet, all things considered, being the top 5 car in qualifying, and obviously starting and running top 10 for the entirety of that opening run. So we get through the first little bit of a burst. Plenty of fighting still on track. First fight, Cozy McClendon. That's for 10th and 11th.
Yeah, nice little pack of cars here. Cozy on the 77 in the outside lane, trying to hold off the advances. That 51 of Scott McClendon. Nice tidy racing there through 3 and 4. They get single file now and work it out. They'll regather, and look at that number 17, Michael Guerrilla, working his way back up in the pack. Didn't take him very long. No surprise there, as the Mountain made up 5 spots on the initial start, already jumping through the field once again. They got a nice gaggle as they work their way off at 2 side by side. Close quarters there, Evan. I'm telling you, these guys are fighting tooth and nail, and these are the best that these cars are driving throughout this whole run.
They're not giving each other much extra space, and if you get a little bit of a mistake, we've seen plenty of those tonight when you're in one of those side-by-side positions. At that point, all you can do is close your eyes and hope that it doesn't get too ugly. The 77 to Cozy in front of this group. A little bit of a bobble that last time at a quarter number 4. So the 15 of Scott McClendon goes top side on him. That'll make it side by side for P10. Then you'll see that 90 Daniel Everhart trying to get back up and through the pack. Uncle Guerrilla sitting just behind. All 4 of these cars in this battle fast tonight. And I think the fastest 2 out of this group being Everhart, the 70 to Guerrilla. actually behind the side-by-side bout between Cozy and McClendon. So we'll see how they negotiate that, and if anybody forces it 3 wide. As for the moment, Donnie stays tucked in line. He wants to go all the way up. Can't get enough run into the quarter, though. Watch on exit. At 77, a little bit slow. Donnie with a big run. Nowhere to go, though. Guerrilla all the way to the inside. And still 2x2 with McClendon leading now a side-by-side fight with the 90 and the 17.
Great heads-up driving by Daniel Eberhardt, trying to get around the number 77 with the 51 right in front of him. Kind of let off a little bit on that run down the backstretch, and then waited for that opportunity to happen, and then went in front of the 77. You see the number 90 back up top again, trying to get that same run that he got out of last time, and hopefully he's cleared the number 17, but he is not, so he's got to stay right next to Michael Guerrilla going into turn number 3. He's going to have to find a different way around the number 51 and the number 17, as he's just pushing so hard to make up so much time. He only needs one more position to get back into that top 10 to solidify him a little bit better of a rebound from that little incident that he had in that first spin. Is he going to be able to clear him coming out of turn number 2? This quite possibly could be it, but that number 51 might have a better run. McClendon does. Gets him by a little bit, but still side by side going into turn number 3 now. Eberhardt having a better run going into turn number 3. McClendon trying to fight back on that top side. We'll see how it comes out going across the start-finish line, Evan.
Pretty even. They were side by side that entire trip around the Chicagoland Speedway. The 17 is still there. The only one missing out on all of the fun in this one, Michael Cozy Jr., who's dropped back to his own fight with Daniel Falkenham, who's trying to take away the 17. Guerrilla had a big run with the 51, a little bit slow up top. 17 had to roll out of the gas, where he had a one-way ticket into that left rear quarter panel of the car in front of him. So a 5-car pack. Everybody's squished in here. We're keeping a half eye on a potential battle for the race lead. Not there yet, so we stick with what's happening in the center here. Just know that Jones has closed in on Bowie a little bit. The intervals, as always, up at the top of your screen. But David Wester, we got through really the first 3-4 laps with single file out for a moment, and now these guys going right back at it with plenty of side-by-side stuff. And second time, really, it happens dead middle of the pack for P10.
Yeah, the action pack right there. And I tell you, looking at that number 90, I don't know where Eberhardt has room in the cockpit of that car for that big set of brass ones when he made those moves around the top side to cut through this traffic. He's a man on a mission, and Michael Guerrilla is seeing this guy cut through the traffic for him, really opening up a lot of doors, as now he jumps to the top shelf out of turn number 2 to overtake the position away from McClendon. Great move there to move him up. And now they sort of fall in lockstep. Now they got to chase down Dwayne Vincent, Lionel Kalisto, Sean Casto, and try and work their way back up towards the top 5. Great side-by-side battle. Speaking of Comstock, fighting with the number 32 is Shane Ewing across the start-finish line. Great battle there for 5th and 6th. Give the edge to the 42 going into turn 1.
Give the edge to that 42 of David Comstock. The 67 of Sean Casto thinks that the inside's going to be the place to be as well. He'll slide up a lot sooner, though, than the 42 did. Comstock almost clear, but he will stay down that lane or so. So Shane Ewing sticks the nose back in as we head off to turn number 3. But if the 42 gets a similar quarter, it is going to be all him coming off at turn 4, and he does. He'll slide up, complete the pass. Might still end up side by side as he doesn't make that aggressive dive down low. Again, that apron, which is almost 2 lanes wide, completely fair game. Drivers, though, tending to avoid that unless they're really in a side-by-side fight and are willing to take that little bit of extra hit on the tires. But I'll tell you what, kudos to Shane Ewing, that 32 machine sticking it out tough on the outside there. The 42's been oh so close now 3 times, hasn't been able to get away from him yet. And Shane Ewing sticks with his guns up top. I think finally this one going to come to a close.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, David Comstock going to take that position away totally, as he's going to put himself into that top 5. I think what's happening here is that top side is good through 1 and 2, but the bottom side is better through 3 and 4. So, you got to kind of figure that out and figure out your lane that you want to run, as the 32 is trying to get that position back, but still pretty far behind the number 97 and the 67, getting really close quarters as Lionel Kalisto and Sean Casto trying to get around the number 32 as well. But meanwhile, we're seeing David Comstock kind of run away with it. So really just 2 different lines, 2 different parts of the racetrack, with quite a few cars right behind David Comstock in a line. Daniel Eberhardt still P10, trying to get into P number 9, maybe clear all of these cars to get himself further into the field of cars. Maybe 13 looked to be a little bit loose, but he was able to keep it under him. Still able to run side by side, so these tires are still under them.
And just watching now, battle for the race lead continues to heat up. The folks in the middle of the pack just cannot get any separation from one another, and certainly we'll see a lot more going on there. But right now, side by side for P1, it has still been old Brandon Bowie. But that might have been one of the closest challenges we've seen yet this evening. Jones way down low, shorter way around the track, gets it side by side in the center of the corner. He'll do the same thing again here. Bowie's fallback has been the run off the corner. In fact, the 11 gets it. It was in front that time. He won't lead it at the stripe, but Dylan Jones here, and he wants to make a move as we have a battle for the race lead on our hands.
Side by side through turns 1 and 2. Dylan Jones with the advantage, hooking the left front around that white line. Gets a good run up off the corner. Bowie leaving him plenty of room down low. That's the way you want to do it. Not racing for the win just yet, but definitely the best bid for a lead change that we have seen yet. Dylan Jones committed to that bottom lane, running it like a pro. This is a great example of side-by-side racing. Guys showing a lot of respect, a lot of discipline on the track to give each other a lot of room, and the yellow flag will fly. Second yellow flag, cutting that action short. Try and find the incident on the track for you.
Second yellow of the night, and this one is, I believe, the 6 of Austin Coop. Would be the second time that we have had a single car accident, and whoa, 6 machine just going down the back straightaway, and kind of tough to tell you what happened there. It looks like to me, and again, no way of knowing what goes on inside that car, but what I'm seeing at least is that the wheels snap all the way to the left, and that car has no way to control itself. But it looks like Austin Coop just puts his foot on the brakes and stops it. Some sort of a wheel failure, I would assume.
Yeah, just gotta make sure that you keep that car under you. It's really hard. This could happen sometimes. So really unfortunate for that number 6 machine of Austin Coop. So hopefully he can get it fixed. And meanwhile, we have pit stops underway. Number 43 pulling into his pit stall. The number 11 of Dylan Jones already in it. The 43 will see it. I'm pretty sure this is going to be 4 tires and fuel. But we'll have to watch the race off the pit road for right now. Dylan Jones just pulling out while Brandon Bowie's still in. We'll see if this is anything close to what it is. And no, Brandon Bowie will keep that position off of pit road with Dylan Jones, Gabe Wood, Spencer Pre, and Nick Silver completing the top 5 coming out of pit road.
That's going to be in and out of the pit lane. We're almost halfway home from Chicago. We'll take this opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we'll cross halfway in the Chicagoland 125. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the 2018 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto L.L.C. A lot of racing still to go from the Windy City. Back in a moment on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free, both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
And back live from the Chicagoland Speedway as we get set to go back green flag racing. Tonight, round 13 of the Full Throttle Wilson Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C. Happy that you're still with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Second yellow of the night, we've seen 2 single car accidents, a wheel failure for Austin Coop. Brings out the second yellow of the night, so we get set to go back green 59 laps down, and just a smidge over what will, I guess, total up to be 66 laps to go this time around. Evan Pasoko, David Schildhouse, and Trevor Valderrama, happy that you're hanging tight with us on your home for sim racing at iRacing Live. Cisco Scardabusa downstairs, and landed the list of names. Brandon Bowie, that's who we're looking at. Race leader all night so far. Was under attack heavily by Dylan Jones to the end of the last run. Now he'll get a restart and a chance to get out of town. Green flag back in the air, and it's a good leap for the 43. Much better restart this time, though, for the 11 car.
Oh, I tell you, it's good to be the leader on these restarts. Not only do you get to pick when you go, but really that inside lane just launches. The outside lane. Oh, caution flag flies early once again through this restart. We got a spinner. That's the 17 of Michael Guerrilla. Oh no, the Sonoma winner up against the wall in turns 1 and 2. We'll pull up a replay here for you. Looks like he might have gotten help from the 77.
A car that has been very good tonight, but it did get help. First time we've seen car-to-car contact cause a problem like this evening. And it was Cozy who just tried to make that transition down to the inside of the racetrack. And at a first glance, it might look like that. And this is a tough one. I think it really just comes down at this point, Trevin, to a racing incident, because it looks like the 77 drives into the 17, but then if you're looking at those seams on the racetrack, 77 tries to go low, it does look like the 17's blocking. The tricky part is both of these cars are transitioning down and into the corner. I think if that other car isn't there like you would expect them to do, the 77 just tried to undercut the 17 a little bit. He didn't get all the way down to the white line. The 17 came down a little bit, and when you got cars tightly packed together off of a restart, sometimes that's what happens. But I mean, what a whale of a hit as Guerrilla backed it out into the outside wall hard, and that's really going to take him out of this one unless he can stay on pit road for an extended period of time and try to get it fixed up.
Yeah, he definitely hit that wall very hard, but at the end of the day, I feel like that was just a really aggressive move for not even halfway through this event. So really just got to know what your game is and know what you're planning throughout here. So, you know, it could just be a racing deal, but you know, you just got to watch yourself going through that corner. Maybe could have given him a little bit more room going into the corner and, you know, maybe have a better run coming off of that top side. But it's really hard to tell, you know, but still, these drivers do what they do best, and, you know, sometimes it just comes out a bad way.
Damaged cars down on pit lane. Cozy actually ends up with a good bit of damage as well in that number 77 machine. He was hit in the back end by the one of Daniel Falkenham. So all 3 of the cars that involved in that one on pit road. Falkenham going to be the first out of pit road amongst those 2. Cozy Guerrilla is still down in the pit stalls. Troy Haight mentioned that he had dropped a couple of laps earlier with this, but he's still stationary on pit road, 9 laps down, 21st position. Leave. That just about does it for all of the cars down on pit road, trying to get some assistance. Obviously, race leaders and all that were just down pit road, David, so nobody up front going to be coming down to get 4 tires of the fuel. We know tires are important. They're not 600 feet important, so drivers going to maintain the track position. Kind of stinks for Bowie and Jones. They both had pretty good jumps on that restart. You mentioned it, the advantage the race leader gets, the opportunity to go from whenever the pace car drops down to actually the green flag coming out. Some racetracks, the window's bigger or smaller, but Chicago gives you a pretty good idea. He got a good jump, and Jones nowhere near the tire speed we saw to him the restart prior, so they'll have to go through the motions and try it again here. Light's still on the pace car, though.
Yeah, it's tough to get going on these restarts. You know, you heat cycle the tires, and they respond accordingly. I'm telling you, these tires, you put a little bit of heat into them, and then you slow down the pace, and then you try and get going again. They struggle to grip up, especially when you're trying to match the restart of the leader when you have no idea when he's going to go. I mean, you can try and guess 10 times and be wrong all 10 of them, because Brandon Bowie could go at the beginning of the zone. He could wait till the middle. It's all up to him, and that's really the beauty of being the leader. You get a lot of power controlling these restarts. And, you know, just looking back one more time at that wreck, we've known that Michael Guerrilli has been very aggressive on these restarts. He's shown it both times that we've had one so far, and there, it looks like he tried to cover the spot. Man, it just ran out of time. Did it too late, or I don't know, you know, if he even saw the 77 make that move. But two guys committed to one spot on the racetrack, that's always going to end up in some contact being made, and pretty much the end of the night for the 17. So thankfully for him, he's got a win under his belt, but not the finish he was looking for here tonight at Chicago.
Light should go off this time by it, also across the halfway point in tonight's race. Let's take this opportunity to look at our iRacing, a midway race break brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game, with professionally organized racing by NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and many more. Here's how we will re-rack and restack for this restart. Brandon Bowie, Dylan Jones going to be up on the front row with Spencer Preet, Sean Casto in row 2, David Comstock, Nick Silver, row 3, that'll be P5 and 6, Shane Ewing, Lionel Callisto in 6th, 7th, and now 8th position, and back on row 5, Dwayne Vincent's 9, Scott McClendon, P10.
That's going to be Daniel Eberhardt trying to recover still from that earlier spin in 11th, Tom Morano running in 12th, Andrew Jones going to be in 13th. Gabe Wood, 14th. Number 1, Daniel Falkenham, who was just involved in that last incident, 15th after his repairs. Michael Cozy sent to the back of the line for initiating the contact there. Andrew Fainar is in the number 88 machine in 17th. Michael Guerrilli, they show him in 18th right now, but he's pretty much going to be stuck back there unless he can make up a few spots later on. Brian Chambliss, 19th. Austin Coop in 20th. And Troy Haight rounding out the field in 21st.
You look at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. Pace car back down and in, and Bowie goes immediately. So we go back underway. 64 laps complete from Chicago. Fight for second. Here comes Preet on the inside of the racetrack. Can't get the entrance into the corner he wanted. Jones protects, so it's Bowie 1, Jones 2, Preet 3, Casto Silver 4, 5. No changes as we single file out down the back for side-by-side back at about 11th.
Brandon Bowie really caught them all sleeping coming into the restart. He went as soon as that pace car ducked down into pit lane and really caught Dylan Jones and Spencer Preet off guard, but that's going to leave benefit to Brandon Bowie. Now the 11 has to work hard to get back to that back bumper of him. He's in striking distance, but it's going to have to get a little bit further up into the back bumper of Brandon Bowie to try and get something done. We'll see if he can run a different line going into the corner. It really has to make just a different line, because obviously it's just two corners he has to deal with, so really just has to figure out where he's running better than the other car in each corner. So we'll have to see how this works out coming into the following laps.
Tightly condensed, but nobody stepping along and making a move quite yet as we work now lap number 67. Past the halfway point, we start to count down now towards the end of tonight's Chicagoland 125. The 11 to Jones, I mean, he is right on the back bumper of the 43 machine as they sit at the moment. The top two have pulled a little bit of distance on Preet, Casto and company, but it has taken Jones a couple of laps, David, to be able to get as close as he is now. Way down to the apron shows that Jones wants to go, and he wants to go now, but he can't get that little bit extra. Stuck that 3/4 of a car length off all the way through 1 and 2, and now down the back straight.
The Steel sponsor machine got some steam under the hood. Brandon Bowie's not going anywhere. Dylan Jones all over the back. This is the closest anyone has been this early into a run since the drop of the original green flag. I think Dylan Jones has to be inspired by the ground that he was making up and almost the pass that he was able to make before that caution flag a few incidents ago, and he just running in his tire tracks. Interesting that he's committed to that bottom lane, seemingly running it even better than Brandon Bowie at this point. Going to get a great run, going to stick the nose out, take a look, thinks better of it, sizing him up here. I think Dylan Jones is getting ready to make a pass for the lead soon.
He's trying to set him up. The 43, though, doing a good job of occupying that outside lane on exit. That's where you would, in theory, need to set that car up to be able to get a run coming off of the corner and obviously try to use one of the stretches here at the Chicago front or back stretch to complete the move. Now the 43 goes down low, and Dylan Jones, again, maybe preferring that bottom lane as he gets into the outside wall, but it doesn't really kill that momentum at all. He scrapes the wall again. Now he'll dive to the inside. That's the move that he's liked making. I don't think he's going to have a run off to take the race lead, but he'll sure as heck try side by side. Still, the 43 in front at the line, though.
Absolutely. Dylan Jones is trying everything that he can going into turn number 1, trying to get around Brandon Bowie. Spencer Preet is also loving all this battling because it's just allowing him to catch up to this lead pack, so this could soon become a 3-car battle going into turn number 3. Spencer Preet looking for a different position, maybe going to try and force it 3 wide. No, won't have the speed, but the 11 still sticking tough down on the bottom side of Brandon Bowie, coming across the start-finish line for lap number 72. Spencer Preet still trying everything that he can to get to the back bumper of the number 11, and he does, but will the number 11 of Dylan Jones get to the back bumper of Brandon Bowie? Still trying to get there. We'll see how he does on the bottom side. No, won't complete that pass. He's going to have to tuck back in line on second place, while the number 37 of Spencer Preet catches the wall a little bit and scrubs that whole entire speed off. The number 11's really liking that bottom side, while the 43 is still liking that top side.
And the 43's got no problems with letting Dylan Jones go down to the inside of the racetrack as much as he wants, as long as he doesn't go full Kyle Larson yet and drive into the quarter panel to loosen him up down the back straightaway. The 43 will allow it for the time being. But again, he goes down to the inside now, just kind of experimenting with what he can do. I think that, again, the 11 machine likes the bottom, or maybe just kind of takes whatever he's got. But I mean, Brandon Bowie showing no concern when Dylan Jones was being able to pull up alongside him, has faith in his ability to get that run up and off of the corner, and he's staved off now a handful of attacks from Jones. And for as contended as this battle for the race lead has been ever since that first restart of the night, after he went about 25 or 30 laps or so into this race with a yellow, ever since that second run, Dylan Jones has been all over Brandon Bowie for the race lead, and yet somehow has never gotten the best of him.
That is one cool customer driving that 43 car. I'm telling you, he could not be bothered about the fact that he's under duress for this lead. I'm not sure if it's just sheer confidence in his own ability to hold on to the lead running that high lane, which he's done masterfully, or if he just knows that he's just running his own pace, and if Dylan Jones gets around him, so be it. I think Brandon Bowie's got the best long speed run. We've seen that so far, but I'm telling you, Dylan Jones is not going away, continuing to pester that bottom lane like a small kitten crawling up your pants leg, letting you know he's there. You're not going to shake him off that easy.
And you'll see how much really mirror watching that 43 machine is up to, if any at all. If a serious battle for the race lead starts to go at it, we see Jones Bowie get side by side for a couple of laps, and there is some hope for somebody like a Spencer Preet who's just a little bit off. Even further back, Sean Castellic Silver in a good fight right now for 4th and 5th position on track, with the 24 as Silver besting Casto that time in 2. But as long as the race leaders remain civil, all of these drivers fighting for scraps as another exchange goes in favor of Brandon Bowie.
I say the thing that Spencer Preet does is really try to conserve his tires, because he's seeing both of these drivers up ahead of him, really using those tires a lot. So just play that safe game and save those tires for later in the run when both of these guys have burned out their tires, and you're going to be able to catch up to them, because I've seen Spencer Preet catch up before and then just fall off very quickly. So keep it out of the wall and keep those tires saved for as long as you possibly can, and then once you start to see them slow up a little bit, you'll be able to make your run and start to give them a run for their money and have to use those tires a lot more, and maybe, as you were saying, mirror drive a lot more and force them into a mistake, as number 11 Dylan Jones trying everything that he possibly can to get around that number 43 machine.
That's the end objective, is to find a way around. And you know, if they continue to race this close, doesn't necessarily mean he's ever got to clear him. Just make it a race to the start-finish line. But I'm sure that both of these drivers would like to figure this thing out well before we run another 45 laps or so. The 11 to the inside again. So again, we are side by side for the race lead at Chicagoland Speedway. The 11 with a good exit, half a car length advantage. The race to the line. Can he do it? Dylan Jones leads lap number 78. So still a long way to go to try to win this thing, but I think that's the first lap led not by Brandon Bowie.
He stole one away right at the line there. I'm telling you, Dylan Jones is doing everything in his power right now to make this pass work. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to work a guy over lap after lap after lap and not being able to get anywhere, seemingly only gaining inches a lap just to give it away, as Bowie continues to get a great run, seemingly with 50 more horsepower down the straightaways, running that top lane. Credit to these guys for running this way side by side, maintaining a great pace, because it's not like Preet's catching them. Or maybe he's just being super patient. I don't know. But Dylan Jones giving Brandon Bowie all he can handle on that lower lane. This is great racing. If you don't get excited by this, I don't even know what you think great racing is.
The 11 machine for sure. Dylan Jones wants to make sure that he can maybe replicate that with the 43 machine. Certainly he and Bowie are becoming well acquainted with one another. They don't have the same first names, but the race cars look pretty similar at the moment as the 11 tries to go down low again, and almost like what you see when you're racing at IndyCar at Indianapolis or just plate track racing. It's almost like they're just kind of having some fun, just toying with each other right now. Not that serious. And it seems funny to say that, Trevin, when you're talking about a battle for the race win in this thing, but plenty of time to go. 45 laps, in fact, to go as of the last time by. If the 11 was concerned about conserving, you just stay in line behind the 43. If Bowie was really concerned that Jones was going to end this here, he'd be throwing blocks, but they're not. So these drivers doing their thing up front, not letting Spencer Preet close in from third despite all of the interactions that they're having.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind there's most likely one more stop left in this race, so it's still going to be a great battle, but still got to think about long haul distances here. Dylan Jones obviously trying to get around Brandon Bowie so he can get to that position quicker, but as long as you stay up with Brandon Bowie and then complete that pit stop with ease and without messing up at all, you might have a good race going on here for the end of it. So you just got to make it so it's a long haul race. You think big picture and don't try to make any irrational decisions going into lap 83 and trying to lead a lap just to throw it all away one corner later.
And now you just look to see what else is happening on track. Is somebody else making a move to put themselves in position to challenge this Bowie and Jones duo that for the umpteenth time come across the start-finish line nearly side by side? And it is Bowie in front once more. Again, Preet is at a good spot. Third, you get a restart. Who knows what could happen? I think Silver has been very strong this run, but it might be fun to watch what's going on here as well. Eberhard right on him, and Anandi, a big bobble. That was the 42 of Comstock, way sideways off of the corner. That three-car exchange for 4th, 5th, and 6th could set up who might be on a potential road 2 for a late race restart in this one.
Yeah, Daniel Eberhard continuing his march back through the field after his solo spin from the second position way back on lap number 36. Now up to the 4th position, completing the pass on Nick Silver. That 90 machine, let's not write him off just yet. Yeah, he's got a little ground to make up if he's going to work his way back up to Brandon Bowie, but I'm telling you, for a guy that spun out about 40 laps ago or so, he's done pretty well to get back up into 4th. That 90's got some power, got some speed. Now he's just got to make up some ground on the rest of this field. 3 cars ahead of him to go. I'm not sure we should write. Oh, gosh, the Spencer Preet out of shape down the front stretch, 37, bobbling all over the place. That was one whale of a save, but he's going to ship off some positions at wholesale prices here through turn 1 and 2. Eberhard takes over that spot, takes advantage of the great situation. Spencer Preet trying to catch his breath. That was a very, very close call.
And he's merged into that 3-car pack that we were talking about. Now a 4 and a 5-car pack as here comes Scott McClendon as well. But Spencer Preet was pointed straight to the infield at about 160 miles an hour. Did a very good job to hang on to it after, again, just from sheer speed alone, it looked like that back end kept carrying up and up and up the hill, and it pitched that nose to the inside. A good save. Second time we've seen something like that nearly be catastrophic, and Preet recovered a lot better than we saw that 90 machine Daniel Eberhard do earlier in this race. That 90, I think, might be the dark horse in this one, just now clawing back into the top 3. After that incident from earlier on this race, he passes Preet, who may have overcooked those tires a little bit. Probably going to have to deal with the Comstock and the 24 of Silver a few more times before he can safely take a sigh of relief and accept that he's fallen down to what is right now P4. But Daniel Eberhard, I don't know if I'm going to say I don't think or he's not. I'm not sure if I'm willing to go that much out on a limb. You don't know what happens with pit stops, but it would be quite something, I'll say, if Daniel Eberhard goes from that 2.3 second disadvantage that he's at now and catches Bowie and Jones. Now, with the race start, fair game. I think he's got a car that can match those two, but he's at a disadvantage right now.
Yeah, Daniel Eberhard has made a fantastic job learning from his mistakes, coming off of turn 2, a handful of laps to go, and making sure that he's going to be running consistently and making sure he knows when his car is a little too out of shape, as the number 67 is going to pull up right next to them. I believe he has already made his pit stop. Yes, he has. He's a lap down. Scott McClendon as well has made a pit stop with Andrew Jones and Brian Chambliss. So we're starting to see the pits really start to cycle in. So it's only a matter of time before we see the front runners dive into pit road.
Waiting to see how soon that may come, and if it is going to be somebody like a Bowie or a Jones who kicks it all off. That could be the single determining factor. And I bet you those cars up at the front of the field wins this race. We talked a lot about tire fall off. The 32.789 was the last lap for Brandon Bowie. Again, his fastest of this race is still a 36.12. So that is a 2-second difference between fresh tires and old tires. So if the 11 of Dylan Jones were to pit just one lap before Bowie, you're looking at about a 2-second swing on the racetrack, and that could be a determining factor in just how tonight's Chicagoland 125 is decided. But we're definitely inside of the home stretch at this point, and kind of right on cue with talking about fresh tires. Look at Sean Casto go on the inside. He has come down pit road. He has gotten his fresh tires, came down at lap number 83. Came down, got his tires. He was running in 7th position at the time, and he has gone for the way short pit here, and he's worked his way back to the lead lap because of that tire advantage.
Maybe a little bit too soon for Sean Casto, because he is going to be hating his tires towards the end of this run. These guys up front still side by side. Dylan Jones, I'm telling you, if I'm Dylan Jones right now, I am doing the undercut, because I am sick of running side by side with this 43 car lap after lap. You got to do something to switch it up. You got to pass him somewhere. It hasn't been on the track just yet, minus a huge send, which it may have to come down to that. But if he can hit pit road, Dylan Jones that is, if he can hit pit road clean, get a great pit stop under his belt, get back out there and make up 2 seconds on the track with fresh tires, even if just for one lap, as you said, Evan, that could be the difference between him finishing second, looking at the back of that 43 car all night, or pulling his number 11 into victory lane.
It took him an awful lot of time to bring that car up off the white line. I was almost certain he was coming in that time. Spencer Preet, though, in the 37, has pulled the trigger, so he is pitted from P4. That strategy call, maybe to negate the mistake we saw from him just a couple of laps prior, could put him in a fantastic position, because now your race leaders are concerned about each other. Preet's going to start racking up some laps, and on the flip side of this is Trevin pits with 36 laps to go or so. So at the end of the race, Spencer Preet's laps are going to be 36 laps old. Those are going to be worse tires than Bowie or Jones's tires. There's going to be 30 laps old, or 25, or 20. It all depends on when they pit. So the tire advantage will go back in the other direction. But it always seems that if you can find that sweet spot somewhere in the middle, don't go way too early, don't go at the very end. If you can find a sweet spot in that cycle and get a little bit, just enough maybe, of a short pit, it could be a race-winning call, and we'll see if that gamble from Preet maybe makes some magic for him, as he rides right now 13th position at a lap down, significantly behind Scott McClendon at the moment, the 51 machine, somebody out on track who has also already pitted at lap number 87 on a short pit, and Sean Casto in 11th. So 3 drivers, Casto in 11th, McClendon 12th, and Spencer Preet 13th. Those are all the drivers who have already pitted. So Casto leading that group of cars who have already gotten service. And here comes Dylan Jones. He will pull the trigger. He comes in from second.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming down pit road, coming off of the racing surface, you got to watch out for that speed to make sure that you're not speeding. That'd be very unfortunate, as we've just seen Dylan Jones come down, as well as Daniel Eberhard, I believe that is. Yes, it is. So just got to make it clean in, clean out of the stall. We'll see. Yes, Daniel Eberhard's clean in, so just have to battle everything. And watching Brandon Bowie seeing when he's going to come in, starting to screw off some speed, and here he comes down pit lane, Evan.
He's going to come in down pit lane in a reactionary move to Jones, no doubt, but for Brandon Bowie, is it a little bit too late that those other drivers beat him to the chase? David Comstock also pitting, so the 42 car is in. Once your race leaders come, it's pretty much open season. Brian Chambliss also going to be coming down pit road, so everybody trying to get down to pit road speed of just 50 miles an hour to get service. This is the pit stop that'll take you with a fuel and tires is what I'm trying to say, to get to the end of this race. So this is it if we stay green. Nobody else going to be coming down pit road. A late race restart. You might argue that some tires are with a little bit of a gamble on track position, but assuming we stay green, this is where a race-winning move is going to come from.
New leader when it all cycles through the 11 of Dylan Jones, blows by the 43. Good night and good luck catching him. That is what one lap worth of fresh tires is worth right there, as the 43 is but a distant memory for Dylan Jones. So now the goal is clear. Run 27 of the best laps of his career, and he's going to get himself a win here tonight at Chicagoland. Perfectly executed, no black flags. He got onto pit road like an absolute ace. And look at that gap now back to the 43. Looks pretty monumental at this point. So Brandon Bowie's got to dig deep if he's going to try and dig back at the 11 of Jones. But right now, the Jones is in control.
And that is, again, just one lap of difference. And if our monitoring of the pit lane is to be believed, Sean Casto's the first driver that he would have to catch, or the last driver that he would have to catch. First one who came in to get tires. Casto 21 seconds off of the race lead. The last time by the start-finish line, Dylan Jones was scored 30 off of the race lead. So he's got to make up 9 seconds to Casto. I think that's doable in the 26 laps that he still has in this race. Passing Callisto now, he would then have to get up to Preet, McClendon, and Casto. Those are the drivers that he would have to catch. That means that Nick Silver, Andrew Farinars, Gabe Wood, Michael Guerrilla, Daniel Falkingham, all still yet to come down pit road.
Yeah, he's just going to have to set down, really set his sights on all these drivers and make sure that he runs great laps, lap after lap here at Chicagoland. So really going to be a big race for him right now, and hope a caution, maybe comes out, maybe doesn't. But, 25 laps to go here at Chicagoland, at a very tough track to handle once your tires go away. Just going to make sure that Brandon Bowie doesn't catch you either. Just going to be really hard for all these drivers to handle this, as it's the longest green flag run of the night. So just watching every single driver around him and making sure nothing big happens.
And that's the thing, is this race going to go somewhat uneventful? We watch the intervals, we watch the times, and this race comes down to strategy. Or does it get that little bit of a twist at the end? Does it get exciting? Does it get a restart? Does something mess with a race-winning call and give somebody else one last breath of opportunity to fight for the race win in this one? All this keeping in mind, Nick Silver really trying to outlast this thing. He wants to stay out there as long as he can and try to get a caution flag, assume that everybody else would therefore pit if there was a yellow, and assume the race lead. That's why you're seeing he, Farinars, Wood, Guerrilla, Falkingham, everybody else who has stayed out continue to stay out. I don't think at this point that it would be, David, I just want to pit 10 laps later. I think at this point you're definitely hoping for some sort of a gamble to pay off.
You're definitely committed to a strategy at this point. The bet is made. You've got to lay in it now. And if it works out, you're going to pat yourself on the back and feel like a genius. If it doesn't work out, you're going to say, well, at least I tried. I had to do something other than what the leaders were doing to give myself an opportunity to win this race. So a lot of things in play here as the laps wind down. 22 laps to go. A lot to be settled still all around the racetrack. Different schedules of pit stops, if you will. Nick Silver just trying to ride this thing out and hope for the best. But again, the eye is going to be on the 11 of Dylan Jones. How does he cut back through the field? Right now, he's got to get past that number 37 of Spencer Preet, crawling up the back bumper. He's got to make quick work of him because that 43 is looming. And you know what? Let's not forget about Daniel Eberhard. He came out of this pit cycle ahead of Brandon Bowie as well. So down 2 positions is Brandon Bowie. Got Eberhard and Jones to catch if he's going to get back to where he was.
And Jones just now passing Spencer Preet for position, and he is catching up to Scott McClendon. McClendon would be the driver that would, in theory, assume second position. So the 11 makes a pass right now for what is 7th. It is technically, or would become second again, assuming that this race were to stay green. The 37 of Preet's also going to catch up, and here's where, again, those lead cars are the older tires. fall to that disadvantage. But Sean Casto, that's the driver that Dylan Jones has been aiming for, and he has ample time left, coming to 20 laps to go. But he'll drive to the back bumper, the 67, and you can see just how easy it is for him to get out of the gas, move lanes, and put the right foot back down. So Casto loses what is going to be P6, and Dylan Jones therefore cycling back through the race drivers who have already come down pit road. That puts him actively in P6.
Very good job running through the pack by Dylan Jones, making that pass look easy coming into the front stretch, and now he's just going to have to keep on working forward and forward and forward as Daniel Eberhardt's still doing a great job keeping that position from what he had earlier on in this race. Dylan Jones still has about 20 more laps to go here tonight at Chicagoland, so we'll see how this all works out. Making quick work of Daniel Foggingham as well. Got to think as well about all these tires and if these drivers can hold themselves under it, because Nick Silver, looking at his lap times, it's about a 3-second differential from when he started this run, and a 2-second differential on when everything else happened, as now we're just looking around and just really good racing going on. You know, it's not really side-by-side racing, but it's a race against yourself.
And that's the thing, is back to the point David you had made, is you got to go out there and put 27 laps down of just worrying about you. Easier said than done when you're trying to follow intervals, and for the drivers in this series that may have somebody on top of the pit box for them, actual live spotters, those are drivers who again have somebody to kind of help them out. But you definitely have drivers all throughout that trying to reach a certain objective. There was an issue with Bowie, though, I think a lap ago, got squeezed up into the outside wall. That's going to really slow him down, on top of the fact that he already got kind of undercut by Jones on the pit strategy. He's still about, I wouldn't say a full straightaway, but he goes into the corner now. Dylan Jones is about 3/4 of the way through, and I don't think he has anywhere near enough of a tire advantage to make up for that difference.
No, and going back to the Brandon Bowie incident, he made the most bold move I have seen yet tonight, trying to pass on the outside of a 3-wide situation with Sean Casto on old tires coming off of turn 2. He just ran out of real estate and put himself up into the fence, lost all of his momentum, allowing Eberhardt to get away. Now really it's down to Eberhardt and Preet as Eberhardt moves past. Dylan Jones looking up his rearview mirror, loving what he is seeing. So he's got 15 laps between him and a checkered flag now. 2 more cars ahead of him who have not pitted. Nick Silver is still out in front, along with the 88 of Andrew Fainars. Still holding on to hope for their strategy. I just don't think it's going to play out their way. Dylan Jones just wants these laps to click off. No drama. He's got himself a checkered flag in his hand.
15 laps to go that time by. Silver still leading. Faridar still second. And then Dylan Jones there in third with that 2-second advantage over Daniel Eberhard again. Waiting for Silver and Farinars to bite the bullet, come down pit road. They are out there leading laps, and this whole green flag cycle really taking away from the impressive numbers that Brandon Bowie did. But even if you take those drivers out of the equation, Bowie right now on track to finish what would be 5th position, just now passing Gabe Wood, so that moves him up into tentatively 4th. Might be able to get might even be able to get Eberhard, but he would definitely need some extra oomph here, if you will, late in this race, as Silver still wants the yellow, might not get it, as he closes in now again on what I'm sure the winding laps. Not going to be able to make it to the end of this one on fuel, so I'm sure he's on fumes at this point.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of time before Nick Silver comes down, as well as Andrew Freenars. But, you know, hats off to Nick and Andrew, you know, still finding it out. And, you know, along with what David was saying, making a very aggressive move with Brandon Bowie. That's what you have to be with just a few handful of laps to go. You just got to make sure that you're going to try everything in your power to get back to the lead. You know, you leading all these laps and then you're just having it taken away by a car and a pit strategy must be heartbreaking. But, you know, sometimes it's just the best way it rolls. And it's definitely going to be a very tight finish to the end of this one. It's, again, just a matter of time before Nick Silver comes down. He's almost to that 34-second mark on each lap. So it's getting really, really dicey.
And that's what you want. You want these races to come down to the end. You want these races oftentimes to come down to that sort of a strategy decision where you make your own fate. And Too many times drivers don't get that opportunity. Jones has passed for radars. The 88 has still not pitted, but Jones is now up into the number 2 position. So many times a race will come down to a mistake, and I don't think being on the wrong strategy and quote-unquote the wrong decision on a pit cycle counts, David, as a mistake. Maybe some people would argue that. I think that sometimes you just get out-strategized. Somebody made the right decision, you made a decision, somebody made the decision, and we started to kind of think about it. Coming up the pit stops, Dylan Jones has been there, but he hasn't had that little bit, and we said 1 lap. That's all you need, 1 lap. Right now, that 1 lap has him 4 seconds in front of the driver that he could just not get around. And he takes 10 laps to go this time by. Does it end in favor of the 11?
You know, if we all knew what was going to come to us in the future, we would all be wealthy because we would have bought the right stock at the right price. And as race car drivers, when it comes to race strategy, it's no different. You can think about it, you can plan it out and hope and pray all you want, and then something can go that you cannot account for, and it's going to throw it all into the garbage. But you know what? Dylan Jones did the right thing, in my opinion, doing the undercut to get around the 43. He wasn't able to do it on the track, had to do it on pit road, and now that call seemingly is going to put him in the right position to take a win here. Still waiting on Nick Silver to hit pit road. Dylan Jones started 18th, by the way, in this 21-car field. So not only is he looking at getting himself a checkered flag, obviously the big mover of the race as well. And looking at the lap times, Dylan Jones still running about 1/10 of a second faster than Daniel Eberhardt most laps, or at least matching the same lap times being put down. So just a brilliant drive from the driver of the number 11.
And Silver is going to come down for the race lead, and he's going to give this one up. 7 seconds was how close the gap got, but Nick Silver cannot push that car any further. And Dylan Jones now to the race lead at lap number 118. It is only the 2nd lap led for Dylan Jones tonight, so there's ample bonus points to go around for those drivers who stayed out. But Dylan Jones 2.3 to Eberhardt, 3.3 back to Silver, who's dropped off of the racetrack. 4.4 back to Bowie is going to be the big number. That much from a 1 lap difference on a pit stop. You put yourself in a different position, therefore, when you blend back out onto the racetrack. Bowie, very aggressive. Obviously, I think some of the desperation seeping in, tries to make a spirited move to get around some cars, ends up in the wall, and obviously we'll have an opportunity to chat with these drivers post-race. And top 3 finish, nothing to hang your head about, but when you look back, and again, hindsight 2020, you can't help but to think what it could have been. This time by 6 laps to go, of course. If we get inside of 4 laps to go or less, that is the point of no return. No green, white checkers, no overtime. A yellow with 4 laps to go or less would end this race. So that's really what Dylan Jones is shooting for. No mistakes. And the good news for the 11 car is he has got a half a racetrack in front of him of clean air. So no lapped cars to worry about. Nobody else coming through on tires. It should be good for the 11 from this point.
Yeah, just a great job by Dylan Jones, finding a different way around that number 43 of Brandon Bowie, which potentially would be Daniel Eberhardt, but just making a different strategy for himself, coming, just knowing that he can't pass him on the track. He just didn't have enough in his car, but knowing that his strategy could be a lot different. So hats off to him, and hats off to Nick Silver for running basically 64 laps on the same set of tires, doing basically a fuel run. Great job by him, and a way to keep that under himself. But still, great job by Daniel Eberhardt and Brandon Bowie. Still, as you said, solid top 3 finish, as now we are at the point of no return.
Point to no return. Jones now just trying to close this one out. No mistakes. We've seen a couple of very minor ones so far this evening, but even Dylan Jones looked like he was a little bit too aggressive in turn 2 a couple of laps ago. You see he keeps that car up above that top seam. He got a little bit sideways 2 laps ago, ended up going down to the middle. I think he overdid it a little bit, just making sure he wasn't taking any risks on that correction. But at this point, again, you're just trying to bring this one home. Keeping an eye on the intervals. McClendon, Kalisto might be a good fight to the end. That one for 6th and 7th position. Here comes Kalisto up the inside. It's one of the only battles on track right now inside of the top 10.
Yes, a very spirited battle there. You see Kalisto in the 97 doing everything he can. That Lucky Strike machine. It's a sharp-looking paint scheme right there, if I got that logo right. Lucky strike. You don't see that much these days. Oh, grabs a little bit of the apron, washing up the track. Look out! Keeps it off the 51 of McClendon. My goodness, what a save by Lionel Kalisto, preventing some contact there. That'll settle that battle, as we will now look up towards the front. The number 11. I'm telling you, what a great drive by Dylan Jones. I can't wait to hear what he has to say if he finishes this thing out. Not to put a curse on him, Evan, but what a brilliant drive. Done everything he needed to. Hit the right pit strategy. That's going to be a very fun interview. I can't wait to hear it.
And of course, for Dylan Jones and the way in which this year so far has gone for him, and the way that this race went for him as well. You know, somebody who started pretty far back in the pack at 18th position. And I believe, as I do a quick scan through the results so far this year, and take a double take, because Dylan Jones is somebody who you expect to be up there week-by-week basis, but without a win yet on 2018, and it is a good, hard-racing win, but it is a smart win. We thought maybe with all the side-by-side, we might have been in for some fireworks, but Dylan Jones makes the right call on the pit stops, and it'll be a no doubt about it. Final time at a quarter number 4 for the first time on 2018. Dylan Jones, winner in the Full Throttle Real-Sim Racing Cup Series, and it comes at Chicagoland.
Great job by Dylan Jones, fighting hard all the way to the end, knowing when to pit and what else he can do. And I'm sure he's smiling big right now. I'm sure he's going crazy in that machine. But Brandon Bowie really has to be feeling defeated right now. And at the end of the day, it's still a top 3, and you just gotta make sure that you get a good point, stay out of it. But coming from 18th to 1st, great job. Here comes the number 90 of Daniel Eberhardt, congratulating him with a little side tap. And 11's about to burn it down in the front straightaway.
I think Brandon Bowie would have liked to come up and say hello as well. 5.3 seconds back at the end of it all, though. A little bit too far back to get to Dylan Jones as he hustles around and gets to those burnouts. Long-deserved trip to victory lane for the driver of the number 11 Ford. It is old Dylan Jones tonight, late at Chicago, after Brandon Bowie was oh so perfect through the opening 3 quarters of this Chicagoland 125. So as Dylan Jones has some celebrating to do and maybe to get some pent-up frustrations out with some burnouts, what we'll do is take one more opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, it'll be the LSRTV post-race show. We'll talk with your top finishers and more. Get you set for next week's race, Daytona. Next on the calendar next Monday. Going to be a lot of fun, no doubt. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Full Throttle Real-Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto L.L.C. Dylan Jones, your race winner tonight from Chicago. We'll talk with him and the rest of your top finishers when we come back. The post-race show is next. This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And welcome back live to the Chicagoland Speedway for the LSRTV post-race show following tonight's Chicagoland 125. 13 down, 17 still to go on the 2018 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series powered by English Auto L.L.C. And we'll get set to go trackside in just a minute. Talk with the top finishers first. I want to remind you that coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series is brought to you, as always, by our friends over at English Auto. English Auto LLC is a full-service luxury automobile repair center in Odenton, Maryland, conveniently located to serve both the Baltimore and D.C. markets. English Auto specializes in Jaguar, Land Rover, Mercedes, Volvo, and BMW service. And founded in 2007, English Auto is now in its 11th year of business, and with a staff that has over 60 years of combined experience, English Auto has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. For more information, you can check them out online at englishauto.us. They're also on social media, facebook.com/English Auto, and on Twitter at English Auto LLC. Take a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results before we get a word from the drivers involved in this one. Dylan Jones, first one on 2018, started way back at 18th for the win. Daniel Eberhardt comes home second. Brandon Bowie third. We'll be trackside with them momentarily. David Comstock, Spencer Preet, good nights. They round out the top five in this one. Scott McClendon with quite the roll of the dice on pitch strategy nets at P6. Lionel Callisto 7th. Dwayne Vincent comes home at 8th spot. Sean Castos 9th. And Michael Cozy Jr. rounds out your top 10.
Gabe Wood's going to bring himself home a nice 11th place finish. Michael Guerrilla recovers as best he can from that contact and trip into the outside wall. He'll come home 12th. Shane Ewing, 13th. Daniel Falkenham coming home 14th. Andrew Fraynars tried to get that pit strategy to work, and it didn't quite go in his favor. He's going to get 15th on the evening. Andrew Jones coming home 16th. Tom Morano, 17th. Nick Silver, who really stretched it the most, falls a lap down and falls back to the 18th finishing position. Ryan Chambliss going to come home 19th. Austin Coop in 20th. And Troy Hates going to round out the 21-car field. That's the look at your finishers here tonight at Chicagoland Speedway.
Quick look top to bottom. Let's listen to what the driver who finished on top of the ball has to say. Dylan Jones is your race winner tonight in the Chicagoland 125 or trackside with the driver of the number 11 machine. Dylan, congratulations. Long time coming for you and that number 11 Ford team. The first win of the year comes tonight at Chicago, and for the longest time you saw a lot of Brandon Bowie, but unfortunately it was all through the windshield. You couldn't find a way around him and ended up making that pitch strategy call to cruise to the win when it was all said and done.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit, we were having fun, but it was getting a little bit annoying. And by the end of that, I was like, come on, somebody make a mistake here. Something happened here. But I decided we were getting pretty far on that pit cycle, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to pit. It was either pit now or stay out another 4 laps and hope he short pit it. And but luckily, my idea worked tonight for once.
Always good when things go according to plan. Throughout the course of this race, obviously, you guys had a little bit of work to do. Started back at 18th position, no time but a qualifying session. But, I mean, the car count's not outrageous in the second segment here, so even though you're at the back, kind of puts you within it's still a difficult position, but definitely manageable. How'd you guys get that many positions so fast early, stay out of trouble to be able to therefore be a part of the battle for the race lead for what ended up being a majority of the race?
Yeah, I need to pay a little bit more attention in qualifying. We screwed that up, but just in the back, if you stay patient, you can run back there and stay patient when you're passing guys, and you can save your tires a lot. And luckily, we got that long, I think we went 34 laps there. So even though you're driving through a lot of traffic, you just stayed patient and not use up your stuff getting by them. The guys up front are, they're running 110%, so you can actually make up time on them.
That decision then to come down to the pit lane, it ends up being the race winning move. Did you make that short pit because that was, just your number, or did it have to go with, you see it so much of Bowie weren't able to get around and that you kind of decided, well, let's mix it up and try something else?
I was sitting there, I was thinking Bowie would short pit, and then we kept going past when I felt like short pitting, really short pitting right there was a good idea. And I was just like, we're going too far. Somebody's got to make a pit stop here and bring one or the other down. So I just went for it and worked out.
Worked out well for you to think that maybe this race win for you guys can give you a little bit of a jolt of energy, a spark headed into the rest of the segment. I know that next Monday's Daytona, those ones are always tricky to comprehend, but Kentucky, New Hampshire, some of the other races coming up.
Yeah, this was a track. I mean, we were winless on the season there, but this was a track we had circled. I love Chicago. I actually struggled more than I felt I should have this week here for a track I love so much, but we were still able to come through. And Daytona, we'll just, whatever happens, happens.
See what happens for sure. No off week, so you guys head into that one next Monday night, but we'll let you enjoy this one before we start pressing you too much on the chaos that is restrictor plate racing. Dylan, the sponsors and the shout-outs, all of those good folks behind the scenes who makes this possible for you in the 11.
Thanks to everyone at Aegis and Power Tech and everyone here at LSRTV for putting this all on, and Andrew's internet tonight for letting me go out there and steal one from him.
Always an extra bonus, Dylan. We appreciate your time. Congratulations for finally getting that first win in 2018. Best of luck for the rest of the year. Hopefully we'll chat soon.
Yep, thanks.
Race winner tonight from Chicagoland Speedway. In the Chicagoland 125, Dylan Jones, check mark in the win column. First for him on 2018. Daniel Eberhardt slides in the middle here, and not that he wasn't in the battle for the race lead, but was many times in this race just a little bit shy of the Jones and Bowie battles up front, but Eberhardt makes the most of pit stops late, steals a P2, and he is trackside with David.
Slides is a good word to use in this instance, Daniel. A big slide for you on lap number 33 while running in the second position. Walk me through what happened there as your race got upended pretty unexpectedly.
I think I had no rear grip by that point of the run. It was, I kind of crapped myself a little bit because I seen the wall coming. I was like, man, I'm gonna wreck out another one of these. Are you kidding me? It's been a spring into summer here, and all these off weeks has killed me because I have not had any momentum in these last 4, 5, 6 races, and it's been a rough one. And I seen that slide coming, and I was just like, I'm going to cut it hard left because I knew right then. I just knew that brand new red paint on that wall was going to hit all my race car.
Yeah, I was going to turn your blue car red, no doubt about it. That was the call I made, a new pair of pants for the driver of the 90 after avoiding contact with the wall there on that slide. So you have to spend the next, 90 laps or so recovering, driving back up through the field, and having some very spirited battles with the likes of Michael Guerrilla and others as you fought through the field. What's it like to go from the front to the back and then work your way back up to the front once more?
You gotta have a lot of patience, and then you find yourself, because they finally figured out how to make it multi-groove racing, and you find yourself, you got a guy on the outside who isn't as fast as you, but he can keep up the speed on the outside, so he's got a way better run coming off the corner, so he's just pulling you down the straightaways. So you really can't do nothing with that, and finally you just got to kind of drive it in a little bit deeper, and if that doesn't work, then you just got to go ahead and just say, okay, I'm going to ride behind him until he starts getting loose. And you got to wait for a guy to make a mistake, and you don't have a lot of that in here, and it gives the chance for Bowie and Dylan. Like, I finally got up to third. It gives them the chance to drive away, and there wasn't no catching them at that last run. And like you said, Guerrilla put up a fight. Casto puts up a fight a lot of the times. There's a lot of Ryan Newmans in the league, if that's what you're asking.
Took the words right out of my mouth. We saw it yesterday, and that leads into my last question for you here tonight. As a guy who really adopted the high lane early and made it look pretty good, even though you had the little slide there. When you're riding that high lane, how much are you thinking, man, I'm just trying to be like Kyle Larson? Because he makes it look so cool riding up there on the high lane, getting a good run off the corners.
You kind of look back in your rear view and you look up ahead. When I was in front of Bowie, Bowie was riding the bottom, and I was looking back behind me, and there's really nobody running the top other than Preet. And I was like, man, this is fun. I love it. If you could wall ride at every single track and it would be faster than the bottom at the beginning of runs, it would just be so much fun to me. Like Kansas, you run right against the wall and you're just right on there on razor's edge. You have to fight back and forth with the wheel, and just with how loose the car is, it just makes it so exciting. There's nothing like it, because you just know your right rear is going to clip the wall from you hanging it out so much, and then you're going to slam the front end once the right rear hits the wall.
Dirt tracking at its finest on asphalt. And Daniel, you did a great job tonight. Microphone's all yours to say hello to your fans, family, supporters, those who helped get you here to the racetrack tonight.
Well, obviously, I got to thank Aegis Motorsports. Without Dave Washington throughout the years, wouldn't be where I am today. And Dylan for a heck of a run to the finish. Finally, Dilly got him one. Took him long enough. It's about time. And Andrew Prenage, he's a good friend of mine, a real good friend. And I got to thank everybody really at Aegis, Ross Cato, everybody who's not here anymore that's having real life situations they're going through and just exploring things in life. And I got to thank my beautiful girlfriend, sits at home, watches me every race. I got to thank the good Lord above and just all you guys for what y'all do each and every week. Next season, don't put any more as many off weeks as y'all have, man. It just takes me out of my mode.
And there you have it. The man who finishes second, a wise man to thank the girlfriend that allows him to do the hobby he loves so much, and putting on a good show here tonight at the Chicagoland Speedway. Spinning up front, coming back to finish P2. Daniel Eberhard in the number 90. We'll see you next week at Daytona. Good job tonight.
Thank you.
And there you have it. Second place finisher Daniel Eberhard. And now to hear from the man that dominated the first half of this race and ran into problems late. We'll throw it over to Trevin, who's caught up with Brandon Bowie.
Down here on pit road with the number 43 at Brandon Bowie. Started first, finished third. Really tough break for you. Walk us through that last stint that you had and really your pit strategy and knowing that it was really going to be hard to catch Dylan Jones at the end of that thing.
Yeah, just a bad call on my decision. I decided to try and see if I can outrun him on fresher tires. But obviously, that was the wrong call because I kind of got tangled up with my teammate there. That was my fault. And kind of damaged the car a little bit. So, it didn't work out. So, the goal was just to stay in the top 5 and gain as much points as I can. But overall, I mean, the race is pretty good, actually. Led a lot of laps. So, it shows that we have some speed, and hopefully we can carry that on to next week.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about next week, Daytona, coming from Sonoma, then Chicagoland, a 1.5, and now a 2.5 beast of a track. How is this really changing the way you see all these tracks and how you're changing the attacks of these? Just coming back from really different track modes.
It's definitely a challenge. Going from road course, which is Sonoma's, is probably not my best track, and just holding on and just trying to get a top 5 out of that, which was the goal, which I did that. Today was the same way. If I can win, that's great, but the goal is to get the top 5. They would do that. And it's going to be the same thing at Daytona. The only difference is anybody can win Daytona. So it's going to really be about staying out of trouble, not damaging your car, good pit stops, and basically, doing what you're supposed to do and try to go for the win at the end.
Yeah, absolutely you do. And before we let you go, is there any sponsors or shout-outs you'd like to give out tonight?
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out to Commodore's Garage. I got to thank them for coming on board, along with RacingBits.com. They came on, later in the season, but they've been a great sponsor to have on. They also have a Facebook page as well, if you want to check them out. They do auctions for memorabilia with all types of racing things. Give a like to the page. Check them out. Great place to chill and try to win some items. Got to thank you guys. Got to thank the family, the man above, my teammates at LSR. Sorry, not LS. My teammates. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by and hope to talk to you next week, Brandon. That was the number 43 machine who finished third.
Thanks.
And as always, big thanks to your top 3 finishers for sticking by post-race and chatting with us after an exciting go at the Chicagoland 125. A lot of green flag racing, a lot of good racing, and a little bit of strategy in the end, just to spice things up. Trevin said it at the top of the hour, though, that Chicagoland's a track that I enjoy. I think this race backs me up a little bit. It's a fun racetrack to go to, no doubt, and another good race in the books as we get closer and closer to halfway through the year.
Yeah, Chicagoland Speedway was one of the tracks I had just circled on this calendar, and definitely was a hoot. But going into next week, Daytona, it's gonna be a really shoot to the finish for this one. 3 wide, 4 wide action, so it's gonna be wild.
course, Daytona. Next one up on the calendar, going to be round 14, fourth race of 10 on segment number 2. I look at the rest of the calendar. There's not, Watkins Glen coming up, and I think that I'm really looking forward to that race, and that can count as a curveball, but nothing other too extreme coming up. Pocono could get interesting, but Daytona may be the one mulligan that you get if you're running for a Segment 2 championship. And David, that one next week, 85 laps at the World Center of Racing is the next race.
Yeah, Daytona is a place that's special to almost every race car driver, race car fan. It's the birthplace of our sport, really, and it stands out as one of the Titan tracks, if you will. So to get out there and run, and as Brandon Bowie said, everyone's sort of on the same page. Anyone can win at Daytona. We saw Trevor Bayne win, and well, anyone can win at Daytona. So it really spices things up, and I'm looking forward to seeing if someone can sneak into victory lane next week, work the draft, and grab a win that could shake everything up here in segment number 2. So stay tuned. I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys get around the big oval down in Daytona.
And the good news is you're not going to have to wait until next Monday to catch some more live racing action right here at LSRTV and RAC Live. A special presentation of SESRA coming up on Thursday, the SESRA Founder Series at 9 o'clock Eastern Time right here this Thursday, July the 5th. No action on Wednesday as you enjoy your 4th of July weekend. But hope that you join us Thursday. And, of course, lock it in for next week. You can find our full schedule by going to our website, www.livesurracing.com. Information there on how to get involved with LSRTV and so many more things. But the best way to keep up to date with us, follow along with us on social media. Give us a like on Facebook. You can get there at facebook.com/LSRTV official. And you can follow us on Twitter at LSRTV for more information. On behalf of myself, Evan Pasoko, for David Shieldhouse, Trevin Valderrama, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, for everybody else at Lobster Racing L.L.C., want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate your race winner tonight, Dylan Jones from Chicagoland. The next race coming at you on Monday, July the 9th. That race and every race of the Full Throttle L.L.C Racing Cup Series, powered by English Auto LLC, can be found right here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night from Chicago.